Don't check your phone yet. That's the first thing my coworker whispered when I walked into the break room Monday morning. I was still holding my coffee, still trying to wake up, and now, suddenly, wide awake. I blinked at him. What? He looked pale, nervous, like he just watched someone get hit by a truck. You'll see. Just, maybe not while you're drinking anything. My stomach turned. I stepped outside, unlocked my phone. Notifications were blowing up, texts, Instagram DMs, 2 missed calls from my cousin Jackson, and 1 single message from an unknown number that just read, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." I didn't know what the hell was going on. Then I opened the link. I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember the moment my coffee slipped from my hand and splashed onto the sidewalk. I don't remember blinking. What I do remember is the video starting with flashing pink lights, laughter, and the camera zooming in on the dance floor of some kind of club. No, not a club, more like a private event space. There was a neon sign that read, "One more night of freedom ring." At first, it was chaos, bridesmaids shrieking, someone doing body shots off a fake cop in a thong. Classy stuff. The camera shook a little, then stilled, and then focused dead center on a couple kissing in the middle of the floor. She was in white, a short, sequin dress I had zipped up myself just 4 nights ago. He was shirtless, cowboy hat, chiseled jaw, the usual nonsense. And then she pulled back, looked at him, laughed, and said, clear as day, because the music cut out for just 1 second, "My husband thinks I'm playing Scrabble right now." Everyone around her burst out laughing. I didn't. I watched her lean back in again. I watched his hand slide under her dress like no one else existed in the room. And I watched the person recording, some drunk friend, probably, slowly pan toward the bride-to-be, who was screaming something about matching tattoos before breakfast. Then the video cut to black. I refreshed it again, and again, and again, hoping I'd misread it, hoping it was deep-faked, hoping someone would jump out and say it was a prank, that I was on some hidden camera show for gullible husbands. But that voice, that laugh, that dress, that was my wife. That was Marcy. That was Thursday night. While I was home folding her laundry and microwaving leftover pasta, she was out there, rewriting the definition of disrespect in front of what now appears to be half the internet. And it wasn't even the video that destroyed me. It was the comments, one after another. Damn, she's good at lying. Her poor man has no idea. Hope he gets out before she brings home a surprise. She's been doing this. This ain't her first rodeo. And the most liked comment. Tag him. Let him know what she's really like. Well, now I know. And so will she. Because when she walks through that door tonight, smiling, pretending like nothing happened, she won't know I've already seen everything. And I have a plan. When she came through the door that evening, it was like nothing had happened. She dropped her bag on the floor, kicked off her boots, and groaned dramatically, the way she always does when she wants attention after a trip. "My feet are destroyed," she sighed, brushing her hair behind her ear and flashing that easy, tired smile. I nodded slowly, staring at her as she passed through the kitchen like a woman who didn't just become a meme in a white dress for the world to gawk at. Like a woman who wasn't currently trending under a video titled, "When the bride's sister forgets she's married." I said nothing. I watched her pour herself a glass of water, hum a tune, and sit on the couch like she belonged there. She didn't even look up from her phone when I asked, "Have a good time?" Her answer was as casual as a weather report. "Yeah, it was fun. Rachel got way too drunk, though. Honestly, I'm glad to be home." I had to clench my fists to stop them from shaking. Every part of me wanted to slam my phone down on the coffee table and press play on that video, the one where she giggles while grinding on a man in jeans and a cowboy hat, then throws out my name like it's a punchline. But I didn't. Not yet. I wanted her to lie first. I wanted to hear it come from her lips, the rehearsed version, the fiction she wrote on the plane ride home. And oh, she did not disappoint. Over dinner, which I cooked, of course, because she claimed she was too tired to lift a spoon, she told me about their brunch spot, the photo booth at the karaoke bar, and how they almost got tattoos but backed out last minute. Her voice was a little too high, her smile a little too tight. Her hands fidgeted more than usual. I was watching a performance, and she didn't even know the audience already had the script. Then she looked up at me, those big hazel eyes suddenly soft. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm just listening," I replied. "To what?" "To your version." She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" I stood up and took my plate to the sink. I could feel her watching me, waiting. My heart was pounding, but my face was stone. I didn't want to explode. I didn't want to scream. I wanted clarity. I wanted to trap her in her own story. So I asked, calmly, "Did anything happen Saturday night?" Silence. She blinked. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean. Saturday. The rooftop bar. The neon sign. The guy with the cowboy hat. Ringing any bells?" Her face drained like someone pulled the color out of her soul with a syringe. It was quiet for so long. I could hear the refrigerator humming. Then, she said it. The lie I was waiting for. "I don't know what you're talking about." There it was. The nuclear trigger. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened the link, hit play, and placed it screen up on the table in front of her. I didn't say a word. I just watched her watch herself. The kiss. The laugh. The line. That damn line. "My husband thinks I'm playing Scrabble right now." I expected tears, screams, gaslighting, maybe even a full breakdown. Instead, she just sat there, staring, mouth slightly open, eyes frozen. When the video ended, she whispered, "Who sent you that?" That was her first question. Not "I'm sorry." Not "That's not what it looks like." Not "Let me explain." No, just a cold, panicked, "Who sent you that?" That told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't shocked it existed. She wasn't ashamed of what she did. She was just afraid she got caught, and that other people knew. "You weren't going to tell me, were you?" I asked, voice shaking now. "You were really going to come home, unpack your bag, kiss me goodnight, and just pretend like none of this happened?" She didn't answer. Not really. She just started crying. Not the kind of sobbing you do when your heart breaks, but the silent kind. The performative kind. The kind that looks good when you need to buy time. I walked away, went into the guest room, and locked the door. She didn't follow. She didn't sleep on the couch either. I heard her in the bedroom. Closet doors opening and closing. Drawers slamming. She was packing. It wasn't remorse. It was retreat. And she still had no idea that I had already screenshotted the post, saved the video, backed it up twice, and even messaged the original uploader to find out what else they had. Because if this was just one clip, I was terrified of what the full story looked like. And the truth? The full story was so much worse. The house felt different the next morning. Quieter, colder, like the walls themselves knew something between us had cracked. I barely slept. My body was exhausted, but my brain refused to shut off. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that man's hands on her. I heard her laughing. That line about Scrabble repeated like a song I couldn't turn off. When I finally got out of bed, the coffee was already made. A peace offering. I didn't drink it. She was sitting at the kitchen table scrolling through her phone like it was any other Tuesday, like the last 12 hours hadn't burned a crater into our marriage. Her bags were unpacked. Her hair was freshly washed. She looked calm, unnaturally so. I half expected her to ask if I wanted eggs. Instead, she said something that made my jaw clench so hard I nearly cracked a molar. "I think we should talk about boundaries." Boundaries. Not "what I did was wrong." Not "I'm sorry I embarrassed you." Not "let me try to repair the damage." Just boundaries. She launched into some rehearsed speech about emotional overreactions and misinterpreting the context of a video. She admitted the guy kissed her, just once, stupidly, but swore it was a dare, a joke, nothing serious. She said she was drunk, that everyone was being crazy, that it meant nothing. She accused me of violating her trust by saving the video and digging around the internet to find dirt. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was spinning the whole thing like I was the one who owed her an apology. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. I let her speak until she ran out of words, and then I told her I needed some air. I took my keys and left, not because I was angry, but because I knew if I stayed in that room any longer, I'd say something I couldn't take back. But I didn't go far. Just sat in my truck around the corner, engine off, phone in hand, staring at the stupid family photos I still hadn't taken down from my lock screen. I opened Instagram, scrolled through her tagged pictures, clicked on the profiles of the bridesmaids who went with her. Most of them had already gone private. Cowards. One of them, a girl named Lila, the one who wore the feather boa in the TikTok, had posted a "sorry for the chaos grinning face with sweat" story the night before, then promptly deleted it. And then I remembered something. The iPad. She used to keep it in the laundry room, plugged in beside the dryer. Mostly for Pinterest, recipes, and Netflix when she folded clothes. But it was linked to her iMessage account. Always had been. She probably forgot. or assumed I'd never think to check it. I drove home like a man possessed. The second I walked in the door, I heard the shower running upstairs. Perfect. I went straight to the laundry room, opened the drawer, and there it was, still charging. No passcode. Messages were already popping up. I didn't hesitate. I didn't feel guilty. I tapped through the threads until I found what I was looking for, a group chat called Bride Squad Ring. And what I read made my skin go cold. These weren't jokes. These weren't harmless giggles. They were plans. Plans they made before the trip even started. Messages from days earlier, stuff like, Lila, Marcy, you better find yourself a Dallas daddy smirking face. Kelsey, the bride, y'all need to get wild before I lose my last single friends LOL. Marcy, I told Wendell we're doing board games LMAO shushing face. Lila, girl, no one plays Scrabble in heels face with tears of joy. Marcy, screw it. I'm bringing my fake ring instead. Fake ring. I felt my throat tighten. But the worst one, the one that still makes my blood go cold, was a message she sent at 1:13 a.m. Saturday night, right after that video was probably taken. This guy is making me forget I'm even married. That was it. No LOL. No emoji. Just a raw, truthful message sent in the middle of a drunken haze. The kind of truth that spills out when the filter's gone. I stared at it, my hand trembling. And then I heard her voice upstairs, muffled by running water, humming a song like she hadn't just shattered the ground beneath my feet. I didn't scream. I didn't go upstairs. I just stood there, letting the reality of who I married sink in. Not the person she pretended to be, but the version of her that existed when I wasn't looking. The one who joked about board games while slipping off her wedding ring. The one who wrote off a public betrayal as a boundary issue. The one who was willing to lie until her last breath, unless the truth got dragged into the light. And now I knew the truth. The only question left was what I was going to do with it. I didn't go back to work the next day. I called in sick, which wasn't even a lie. My body felt like it was running on battery acid. My hands couldn't stop trembling, like they knew something my brain was still trying to deny. Every time I thought I'd reached the peak of betrayal, another layer peeled back, and underneath, it was always worse. I couldn't focus, couldn't eat. I just sat in that quiet, familiar house, staring at the walls, wondering how many conversations had been faked, how many touches were empty, how many I love yous were just habits. I couldn't stop replaying that group chat message. This guy is making me forget I'm even married. She said that like I was just some distant obligation, a subscription she forgot to cancel. The shower incident from last night hadn't changed her. She was still walking around like this was all some overreaction. She didn't know I'd found the iMessages. She thought the video was the worst of it. But what shook me the most wasn't the physical cheating. It was how emotionally intentional it all was. The prep, the secrecy, the mocking of me in group chats, the glee. I hadn't confronted her about the messages yet. I was saving that. Because now, it wasn't just about what she did. It was about how she treated me after. Like I was stupid. Like I was disposable. Like my heartbreak was an inconvenience to her comeback story. That's when I made the decision. If she wanted to keep pretending, fine. But I wasn't going to protect her image anymore. She lived online, always posting motivational quotes about loyalty, captioning selfies with my person red heart, tagging me in stories with fake laughter and staged kisses. I'd spent years being the prop in her social media love story. Now I was going to rip the mask off. Gently. Publicly. I started small. I reposted the TikTok, the original video, to my Instagram story. No caption. No context. Just the video. 30 seconds long. No edits. It took 10 minutes for my phone to start vibrating nonstop. People I hadn't spoken to since high school messaged me. Dude, is that her? Wendell, I'm so sorry, bro, WTF. Please tell me this is a joke. It wasn't. And it hadn't been for a while. One of her cousins DM'd me. The one who always flirted with Marcy at Thanksgiving, so I never liked him much. But this time, his message hit different. She's been acting shady for months, man. You didn't deserve this. If you want to talk, I'll tell you what I know. That what I know stuck with me. I hadn't even scratched the surface yet. When she got home from work, I was still in the same spot on the couch. No TV on. No music. Just me and the iPad beside me, still open to the group chat. She walked in holding a Starbucks and her phone, scrolling like she wasn't 10 minutes away from losing everything. Then she froze. What did you do? Her voice was sharp, accusing, like I had betrayed her. That's what narcissists do, right? They set your house on fire and scream at you for making a mess. You're mad I posted the video? I asked. You didn't even talk to me first. I did. You lied. I asked you what happened. You said it was nothing. You said it was just a kiss. You left out the part where you took off your ring and told your friends you wanted to find a Dallas daddy. Her mouth dropped slightly, but she caught herself before showing too much. You're spying on my messages now? That was her defense. I laughed. I laughed so hard it startled her. Because I realized in that moment, I could hand her a photo of herself signing divorce papers, and she'd say it wasn't her handwriting. This woman wasn't sorry. She wasn't heartbroken. She was cornered. There's a difference. I didn't cheat, she said firmly, like saying it enough times would bend reality. I picked up the iPad and read aloud. This guy is making me forget I'm even married. Her face went white. You don't get to erase that, I told her. You don't get to pretend I imagined it. That was you. No alcohol made you type that. That was your thumb. Your words. That's who you are. She sat down across from me, finally quiet. Finally starting to understand that this wasn't going away. You've humiliated me, I said, and my voice cracked for the first time. You turned our marriage into a side quest. You lied to my face, to my family, to everyone who thought we were solid. You were a goddamn hurricane disguised as a sunset. And you know what she said? Are you going to tell my parents? I just stared at her. Not a single tear in her eye. Not a flinch of shame. Only fear, not of what she'd done, but that people would know. That told me everything I needed to know about how much she didn't love me. And so I said calmly, no, I'm not going to tell them. She exhaled, relieved. I already did. When I said I'd already told her parents, I expected a reaction. A scream. A sob. Some kind of visceral meltdown. But Marcy just sat there, blinking, like her brain hadn't yet downloaded what I said. It took her a full 10 seconds to absorb it. And then the fear hit her all at once, like a car slamming into a wall. You're lying, she said, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't respond. I just stood up, walked over to the kitchen counter, and slid my phone across the surface. It was open to the text thread with her mother, Pamela. The last message was still visible. Me. I thought you should see this. I'm sorry. Pamela. Oh my God, Wendell. Please call me. I didn't want to do it. I genuinely didn't. But I had loved that woman, her mother, for years. She sent me birthday cards with little coupons for free hugs and used to make cinnamon rolls from scratch when I had the flu. I couldn't let her walk into her daughter's life, into our house, into our Christmas dinners, completely blind to what Marcy had become. Marcy stared at the screen like it was a death certificate. Her hands were shaking. You went behind my back and dragged my mother into this. You dragged your mother into this the second you bragged about cheating in a group chat with strangers who all have access to the internet. I don't know why I thought the truth would finally reach her. Maybe I thought involving her family would flick some buried moral switch. But instead of shame, she reached for rage. She stormed past me, grabbed her purse, and slammed the bedroom door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. Good. I didn't chase her. I let her sit in that room and drown in the sound of silence and consequence. For once in her life, she was going to face what she did without distraction. No filters. No edits. No rerouting the blame. Later that night, the doorbell rang. I was on the couch again, exhausted, phone in hand. I assumed it was her friend Lila or maybe someone from her job, someone coming to check in and quietly gather the gossip. But when I opened the door, I didn't see a sorority sister in yoga pants. It was Pamela, her mother, standing there with 2 grocery bags and tear-stained cheeks. I didn't know what to say. She just stepped inside, gave me a hug, and said, I'm so sorry, Wendell. I really am. I don't know what's gotten into her. She sat with me in the kitchen, placed the groceries on the table like she was trying to anchor herself in routine, and talked to me the way you talk to someone who's just survived a car wreck. Gentle, slow, careful not to touch the bruises too hard. And then she said something I didn't expect. I always had a feeling. I looked at her. What do you mean? She sighed, twisting her wedding ring nervously. She was always like this when she was younger. She hated accountability. If she broke something, she'd cry so hard that you'd end up apologizing for making her feel bad. I thought she grew out of it. I really did. She paused. I think she's always been afraid of being boring. And you made her feel safe. Which isn't the same thing to someone like Marcy. She needs constant excitement, attention. She's addicted to the high of being wanted. But she doesn't understand the cost. Her words hit like slow poison. Kind, but lethal. She wasn't trying to blame me, but the message was clear. This woman I married had been trained to avoid consequences her whole life. And now those consequences were arriving. On our doorstep, wearing a mother's guilt. That night, Marcy didn't come out of the bedroom. Pamela knocked twice. No answer. I think she cried at the door for a while, whispered something like, "I raised you better than this," and then just gave up. We sat in the living room together, a betrayed husband and a disappointed mother, eating microwave lasagna in total silence, the weight of Marcy's choices filling the space between us. Pamela left around midnight. Before she left, she said something that stuck with me. "Don't let her turn this into your fault. That's her favorite magic trick." And she was right, because the very next morning, Marcy tried exactly that. By morning, she had completely transformed. Gone was the silence. Gone was the stiff body language and terrified expression. When I walked into the kitchen, she was already dressed, makeup on, her hair curled, like she was going to brunch with friends or walking into an interview. There was breakfast on the table. Eggs, toast, and orange juice. A performance plated in domestic perfection. "Morning," she said, as if the last 72 hours hadn't detonated our marriage and left its ashes smeared across social media. I thought we could sit and talk. I stared at her for a long time. I think part of me wanted to scream. Another part wanted to laugh. But most of me just wanted to understand why. Why was she like this? How could she still pretend this was fixable with eggs and lip gloss? She pulled out a chair, sat down, and folded her hands like a therapist about to deliver a diagnosis. "I've had time to reflect," she said. "And I just want to say I'm sorry. I made mistakes. I crossed lines. But I also think there's been a misunderstanding about my intentions." Her intentions. That was her opening move. Pivot the crime into confusion. Then came the rest of the speech, carefully worded like a press release. "I never meant to hurt you. I just felt unseen lately. Like I wasn't myself. Like I was shrinking into this version of me that wasn't alive anymore. And I guess I got caught up in trying to feel that spark again. But it didn't mean anything. That guy, I don't even know his last name. I haven't spoken to him since. It was stupid and meaningless and, yes, selfish. But I think we should take a step back and ask why this happened, not just what happened." That was her real goal, to blur the lines. If she could get me to see her betrayal as the symptom instead of the disease, then maybe she could escape the blame. Make this about our disconnect. Make this my fault too. Drag me into her mess and say, "Look, see? We both dropped the ball." But I'd read the messages. I'd watch the video. I'd live the humiliation. "You cheated," I said flatly. "That's not a symptom. That's a choice." She didn't flinch. Instead, she tilted her head and hit me with the next move, the guilt card. "I get that you're angry, Wendell. You have every right. But you've also kind of weaponized this. The video, the messages. You told my mom, you posted it online. You made it public. That's not how people work through things." That's when it clicked. She wasn't sorry for the affair. She was sorry for the consequences. To her, I wasn't a betrayed husband. I was a threat to her image. An enemy holding a mirror she didn't want to look into. And in her mind, I'd crossed some unspoken rule by not keeping her secret tucked neatly inside our household. Her crime was forgivable. My exposure of it wasn't. "You burned the house down," I said quietly, "and you're mad that the neighbors saw the smoke." She stood up then, pacing, arms crossed. "Do you even want to fix this? Or are you just trying to destroy me?" That's the line she landed on. Destroy. Because to someone like her, reputation is everything. She didn't mind breaking the vows, as long as no one else found out. But the second people saw the truth, she spun the narrative. I was the bitter, vengeful husband. She was the misunderstood, emotionally neglected wife. I saw it coming a mile away. Later that afternoon, she posted a quote to her Instagram story. "Sometimes people only hear your reaction, not the disrespect that caused it." Followed by a blurry photo of her in our backyard with the caption, "Trying to heal. Please respect my privacy." And that's when I realized she wasn't trying to rebuild anything with me. She was preparing her defense. The DMs started rolling in. A few of her friends messaged me directly, clearly after hearing her version. Things like, "She's hurting too, Wendell. This is hard for both of you. Nobody's perfect. Maybe don't post private stuff next time. It's just one kiss, man. Don't throw everything away." But one message, from someone I didn't recognize, made my blood run cold. You should probably know this wasn't her first time doing something like this. That was all it said. No name. No follow-up. Just a quiet little bomb dropped into my lap. And now I couldn't help but wonder, what if Dallas wasn't the betrayal, but just the one she got caught for? After I read that anonymous message, you should probably know this wasn't her first time doing something like this. Something inside me snapped. Not in a loud, theatrical way. Not in the kind of rage you see in movies. It was quiet. Still. Focused. A kind of calm I'd never felt before. Like the part of me that still wanted to believe in her had finally died and left behind a man with nothing to lose. I didn't respond to the message. Not right away. Instead, I sat in the garage for over an hour, just staring at the floor, thinking about every moment I'd ever dismissed. Every weird excuse. Every girl's night out that ran later than it should have. Every phone turned face down. Every time she came home from work already showered. Every, oh, that's just a coworker moment. And I realized something brutal. I hadn't just ignored red flags. I had stitched them into a blanket and wrapped myself in them, pretending it was love. I'd built my entire sense of loyalty around a woman who was hiding in plain sight. So I started digging. Not out of spite. Out of survival. First, I went through our shared iCloud storage. The backup she always forgot existed. There were photos I'd never seen before. Screenshots of half-dressed selfies she'd taken, some labeled with initials I didn't recognize. Messages from 2 years ago in a deleted thread labeled simply J. Nothing explicit, just enough to make my stomach turn. Flirty captions, timing that didn't make sense, a message from her that said, "He's asleep, call you in 5. I remembered that night. I'd had a fever. She brought me soup, kissed my forehead, and said, "Don't worry, just rest. I'll stay up and keep an eye on you." She wasn't watching me. She was whispering to someone else. I didn't stop there. I pulled up our old bank statements, specifically from times when she'd gone on solo trips or needed a weekend to reset. The hotel charges didn't match the cities she said she was in. One weekend in particular, she told me she was going to visit her cousin in Asheville, showed a 2-night stay at a boutique hotel in Charleston under her name, and a second room on the same bill. I'd never questioned it. Why would I? She smiled too easily, lied too well. By the time I confronted her, I already knew the answer. I just wanted to hear it from her mouth, once. Just once, I wanted her to choose honesty over the performance. We were in the kitchen again. Always the kitchen, neutral ground, clean surfaces, nowhere to hide. She was on her phone, posting another quote about healing and rebuilding trust, trying to curate her downfall into something palatable. I stood across from her, holding the printouts. "What's this?" she asked, smirking like I was being dramatic. "You remember Jared?" She blinked. "Jared who?" "Jared from Charleston. Room 207. April 2 years ago." Her face dropped. It wasn't just the name. It was the date. The room number. I saw her chest rise, not from breathing, but panic. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then whispered the same line she'd used a dozen times already. "That was a long time ago." Not, "It didn't happen." Not, "I can explain." Just, "That was a long time ago." That was the moment I stopped being married. Not legally, that would come later. But emotionally, spiritually, fundamentally, we were done. Because there was no begging, no weeping, no apology. Just strategy. "Did you love him?" I asked. She didn't answer. I asked again, louder. "Did you love any of them?" She looked away. "I don't know." That was worse than yes. Because it meant she'd done it so often, with so little attachment, that even she couldn't remember who mattered, if any of them did. It wasn't love. It wasn't passion. It was a habit. A cycle. And I had been the man who watered the flowers while she picked bouquets for strangers. "You don't get to act like this was some accident," I told her. "You didn't trip and fall into someone's bed. You planned it. You lied about it. You enjoyed it. And now you're more upset that people found out than you are about what you actually did." She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She just said, "Are we done then?" Like we were finishing a meal. Like this wasn't my entire life. I nodded. "Yeah, we're done." She stood up slowly, picked up her keys, and walked out the front door. No bags, no words. Just silence. I should have felt something. Anger, relief, grief. But all I felt was tired. I sat down on the couch and realized I'd spent so many years trying to be the husband she needed that I'd stopped noticing she never once tried to be the wife I deserved. And now, She could finally go be whoever she really was, without me in the way. 2 weeks later, she came back. I heard the knock at the door around 9:30 p.m., soft, hesitant, like someone hoping I wasn't home. I'd just come back from a jog. I wasn't running from anything, for once. Just moving, clearing space in my chest, sweating out the rot she left behind. When I opened the door, there she was. Marcy, hair tied back, no makeup, hoodie that wasn't hers. Her eyes were swollen, like she'd finally started feeling the weight she'd been so determined to ignore. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there. I didn't invite her in. Wendell, she finally said, voice cracking. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. You're not supposed to say anything. I know I messed up. You didn't mess up, Marcy. You chose. You don't get to call it a mistake when it was a map you drew yourself. She nodded slowly, eyes filling up. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel pity. I just felt free. She stood in the doorway of a home that no longer belonged to her. And for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of her silence, or her anger, or her tears. I was just done. I came to say I'm sorry, she whispered. I believe you, I said. But that doesn't mean anything now. She looked at me like she wanted to ask for something, forgiveness, another chance, maybe even a hug. But I didn't owe her any of that. Not anymore. What I gave her, she spent. What I trusted her with, she traded. And I had nothing left to offer. She turned and walked away. I didn't watch her go. I closed the door, locked it, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't look over my shoulder. That night, I slept. No nightmares. No 3 a.m. anxiety spirals. No checking the driveway to see if she came back. I slept through the whole night. And when I woke up, the world didn't feel like a war zone. I made coffee. Black. No sugar. I sat on the porch in a hoodie that actually was mine, looked out over the quiet street, and realized something strange. I wasn't broken anymore. Yes, I had been humiliated, lied to, betrayed. I had given the best of myself to someone who never saw me as anything more than a safe place to park. But I came out of it clearer, stronger, honest. In the days that followed, I deleted the video, took down the posts. Not for her, for me. I didn't want to be the guy known for what happened to him. I wanted to be the man who rebuilt from it. Her mom still texts me now and then. Short check-ins. She's staying with Pamela now, from what I've heard. Some of her friends messaged me quietly, a few apologizing, a few admitting they saw things but never said anything. That's fine. I'm not angry anymore. That part of me burned out. I started going to the gym, got back into woodworking, took a short trip to Colorado just because I'd always said I would and never did. For the first time in years, I'm making choices for me. No second guesses. No hoping someone else approves. And maybe the best part? I met someone. Nothing serious yet. Just coffee, a few late-night phone calls, shared playlists, slow walks where silence isn't awkward. Her name's Elise. She laughs with her whole face. Doesn't talk in circles. Doesn't need 1,000 filters to feel beautiful. It's new, but it feels real. No performance. Just people being honest. I don't know where it's going. But I know this. I will never again apologize for being loyal, soft, or honest. Because it wasn't my vulnerability that failed me. It was her cruelty that took advantage of it. And now I have peace. That, more than anything, is my happy ending.